Kev, let me just get your first reaction when you saw the news that Tiger was in that car crash on Tuesday.
Well, if I'm being blunt, as I normally am on segments and throughout life, I immediately went to, or should I say, I reverted back to when Tiger had gotten into that whole situation with his wife.
Hmm.
The entire situation where his life, not only his career, but his life kind of took a downward spiral.
Yeah.
And I immediately said, man, I really hope to God he wasn't drinking. First and foremost, I was like, please be okay, because we all know what Tiger Woods means to the game of golf and to the sports world as a whole. It seemed like he was finally getting his life back together after that entire debacle a few years back with the whole divorce situation with his wife and the whole sex, crazed women and whatnot. But I just immediately panicked and I was scared for the man. I said, I really hope he wasn't drinking under the influence or anything like that, because if he indeed was, there was no taking Nike back. There was no convincing your endorsements not to leave a second time. I mean, like I said, Tiger had just seemed to kind of get in the groove of things, and he may not have been winning a lot of tournaments, but I was like, he's just getting back to his life. And when I saw the image of the car kind of tilted over or flipped over on the side of the cliff, I said, man, I would rather hear someone cut him off. I would rather hear he looked away from the wheel or something trivial like that. And then, the reports came back today or yesterday that there was no alcohol found in the system and that Tiger was, he deemed to be completely sober by the initial first report. So I
Hmm.
was thankful, but at the same time, again, still worried because Tiger Woods' career is pretty much pending on this injury right here, because we already know the injuries he sustained earlier in his career just playing the game of golf, between his back surgeries, his ACL tear, and
Hmm.
now we're talking about his entire right leg being basically completely shattered, from the fractures in his leg to the shattered ankle or torn ligaments in the ankle. That is going to be quite a hefty recovery and rehab for a man in his 40s, playing one of the most strenuous games toward the lower leg and the back. As Tiger Woods has already shown, the recovery to play golf can be pretty difficult. So, I hope everything's okay with Tiger. I hope he can come back, but I do know that a lot of analysts are saying, for the most part, they think that Tiger's playing career is pretty much under wraps, pretty much done. The verdict is still out with me. I don't want to say that it's over. I don't want to say that he can still come back, but I mean, just looking at this from an objective standpoint, it is leaning towards that kind of Tiger might have to hang it up because this injury might be a little bit more difficult to come back from than the others.
I mean, to be honest with you, just to be frank, he's just lucky to be alive after this accident, just because I remember the authorities that were responding to the scene. They said that car rolled probably several hundred feet before it ended up finally resting in that kind of like that cliff area on the side of the road. And I was going through some of the reports and I was listening to the local authorities talk about this area. And it's an area where, if you don't know it that well, specifically in the area that he crashed, there is a high likelihood of getting into a car accident. And neighbors have said that this area of road has seen some accidents throughout the time there. So, when I was looking at the overall report that they had on it, they said he was traveling at a high rate of speed. I don't know how fast he was necessarily going, because I saw a video. This was a traffic cam on the side of the road where it showed him and a van that was in front of him. It seemed like they were going at a pretty normal rate of speed. He wasn't going like 70 or 80 miles an hour on this road. He looked like he was just going with the flow of traffic before he ended up getting in that car crash. And it said that he crossed the median and then went into oncoming traffic. And then I think that's when the car ended up flipping over. So, you know, I don't think that alcohol or drugs were at play here. The local authorities ruled that on their initial response when they saw him in the car. They said that he was fully aware of what happened, probably in shock to the fact that he probably had multiple injuries and the fact that he just got in a car accident. And he seemed to respond to everything that the first responders were saying. So I guess you can kind of rule that out, but I mean, they could do a blood test down the road to kind of confirm that. Um, if I had to guess, and I don't really want to speculate on things like this. If I had to guess, he might have been on his phone, may have not been paying attention, and may have just crossed the median. And unfortunately, that's when the car flipped over. But obviously, we'll find out more in the next couple of days for him. I don't want to, you know, go too into depth about that. But really, at this point, though, he's just lucky to be alive. And really, for me, golf is out of the picture for him in the meantime until he can actually recover from this injury. And as far as I'm concerned, the only thing I want him at this point to do is to just rehab to the point where he could just return to an unhindered routine in his daily life. I think really that's the most important thing. I think that's the most important thing that his family wants for the near future. And we'll see what happens with his playing career. I think a lot of people across the board in the media were essentially saying that this was the end for Tiger's playing career. I'm not going to jump to that extent yet. I'm not going to say that right now. I think it's way too early to say that. And I want to hear it from him first. I want to hear from Tiger.
Of course.
Say,
His word
okay,
means the most. Only he knows his
if
body.
Tiger says that he's done, then I will believe it. But I'm not really too worried about not too worried about that right now. The main thing is just recovering from the surgeries that he's going to have. And he's probably going to have a few more surgeries before he's out of the hospital. And he could start the rehab process. So, like I said, at this point, just getting back healthy is the most important thing at this point. Golf can wait. And that's what the PGA commissioner today said, that golf is not even a focus for him right now. And as it shouldn't be. It should just be focused on just trying to recover from this horrible accident as best as he can.
It's like a lot of times when things like this happen, not only in life, but with athletes especially, like with the Cam Newton accident a couple of years back, the media right away says, will this affect the season? Will this affect his career? Can we talk about Tiger Woods and Cam Newton as the individuals, as the people? Like, are they okay mentally? Are they physically okay to pick up their kids? Are they okay to walk down the block or in their house? Like, sports are such a luxury in life. Like, obviously, some sports more than others can be a little bit more dangerous and physically grueling, like football compared to golf. But I think people need to really get over the fact of, I'm just trying to write a story. I'm just trying to get a scoop. Tiger Woods, the human being, got in an accident, not Tiger Woods, the golf player. So I think that a lot of times we get lost in this narrative of an athlete got into an accident rather than, an actual individual got hurt. Yeah. So it is frustrating to see the speculation of his career. What does this mean to the game of golf? What does this mean to Tiger's kids? What does this mean to Tiger's significant other or his mother or his siblings? You know what I'm saying? You know where I'm getting at? Yeah. It's frustrating that the media solely focuses on the sport. It's such a, not even a spectrum of meaning behind Tiger actually living a full and effective life as a human.
Well, it's tough because we've all watched Tiger. And granted, I'm not the biggest golf fan you'll ever meet. I know a lot more people that are much more involved in the game of golf than I will ever be. But I know for me personally, Tiger was a major influence in when I was younger, when I was just getting into sports. It got to a point where Tiger was so dominant in the game of golf that he was probably the greatest individual athlete that I've ever seen. And it's the memories associated with those of him just going on this spectacular run where he goes and wins 14 majors in basically a 10-year stretch. It's just an unbelievable stretch of golf that we'll probably never be able to witness again, just because the amount of success that he had will probably never be replicated in the time that he did it in. And I think a lot of people, including me, we got so much enjoyment out of that throughout the years. And we do tend to forget that, that these guys are just everyday people too, to a certain extent. Obviously, they're there because of their skills athletically as a golfer for Tiger's sake. But obviously we get a lot of enjoyment and a lot of entertainment value from what they're able to provide on the course for Tiger or on the field with other players in different sports. So I think really what you have seen a lot more probably within the last couple of years or so, you've definitely seen more Tiger the person than the golfer. And I think that he has made a significant effort to be looked at more likable after the situation that he had in 2008 or 2009, where his whole personal life just fell apart. And Tiger has definitely, I think, warmed up to being more personable in the last probably 5 to 10 years after that whole situation with his ex-wife. But at the same time, we still want to see the golfer Tiger Woods perform at a high level. And like when we saw him win the 2019 Masters, I mean, I have the picture, I have the poster of him winning that Masters in my room.
Huge.
It's
It was huge.
It's the only golf memorabilia that I have in my room. It's because he is single-handedly the reason why not only I got into golf, but millions of people were attracted to golf. We used to watch golf every weekend, Saturdays and Sundays around dinner time, and we'd always watch Tiger. It's just that he was the main draw at that time. And it's just now I think I know an accident will kind of bring this, but it's actually good to actually see people really support the person Tiger Woods in this situation than the actual golfer. The life of Tiger Woods matters more than the golfer right now. And that's where I think most of the attention is being paid to at this point in time. I don't think golf is really concerned of his, or I don't even think golf is really concerned for any of these people that are really thinking about Tiger at this current moment in time. That's just the way that I see it.